In the final 6 months of his presidential tenure, Joe Biden seems to have set his sights on major reforms in the U.S. Supreme Court. At an event in Austin, Texas, President Biden slammed extremism in the institution, claiming that the apex court had been undermining public confidence. Addressing his supporters at an event marking the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act in Austin, Biden issued this call for major reforms to tenure limits on Supreme Court justices. The president also asked U.S. lawmakers to ratify a constitutional amendment limiting presidential immunity.
I have great respect for our institutions and the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution. But what's happening now is not consistent with that doctrine of separation of powers. Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions.
Biden's push for Supreme Court reforms comes mere 90 days away from the U.S. presidential election. Currently, the institution holds 9 Supreme Court justices in office, with 6 judges having been appointed by Republican presidents and 3 by Democrat presidents. This has proven to be a major thorn for the Blue Party, as the current bench has overseen divisive and, as some would argue, regressive judgments concerning abortion rights and federal regulatory powers that have stood unchallenged for decades. There have also been concerns of the proximity and the bias of conservative judges and justices towards Republican lawmakers. Case in point, Justice Clarence Thomas, who was found to have been accepting luxurious vacations from Republican donor Harlan Crow. Justice Thomas, was hit by articles of impeachment by Democratic Senator Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez earlier this month. President Biden has issued calls to rid Supreme Court judges of their lifetime appointments to the court. In its stead, Biden proposes legislation should be passed in the Congress to establish a system wherein the sitting president appoints a justice to the apex court every 2 years for a tenure of 18 years. Biden argues that this measure will ensure that the composition of the court changes periodically and democratically. Biden has also called upon Congress to establish a court code of ethics that would require justices to disclose gifts, refrain from public political activity, and recuse themselves in case there is a conflict of interest, financial or otherwise. Lastly, the president has called upon Congress to reverse the Supreme Court's ruling. The contentious ruling extended the delay in Washington criminal case against Donald Trump on the charges of plotting to overturn the results of 2020 elections.
The court is not self-policing. The court is not dealing with the obvious conflicts of interest. We need a mandatory code of ethics for the Supreme Court, and we need it now.
For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.